Hello again, welcome back. We want to propagate this tree. It's an aspen. Aspen are amazingly beautiful trees. The leaves move in the summertime and flutter and make this fantastic sound, sort of a clattery kind of noise. It's wonderful. So we want loads and loads more. Propagating aspens though is really quite tricky. Lots of other trees you can plant either by planting their seeds or with willow, which I'll include a link below. You just push it into the ground and they root. We've also planted hazel recently, where you plant the hazel nuts, they then grow into little trees and you can then transplant them, piece of cake. That doesn't work with aspen. The reason is because they almost never set seed. They instead propagate through suckers. These are suckers. The way aspen trees spread is to send lateral roots horizontally through the soil. Every now and again they then shoot up vertically and create new trees. But because they are connected through their roots to the main tree I showed you a minute ago, these are in fact the same tree. Aspens can cover whole hillsides this way. In fact, some of the largest organisms in the world are aspen single trees that have covered whole hillsides. It's really quite amazing. So the way you propagate an aspen tree is to cut into the ground with a spade and find these lateral roots. Then we'll use some secateurs and cut a section of the root and then stick that in some compost and it will grow into a whole new tree. Let me show you how that's done. Right, so I'm going to dig right between these two suckers. I'm hoping they're connected with a straight bit of root and it doesn't come from two different places, but we'll try. So the idea is to cut a section of root about that long. Now, this won't damage either tree because both of these will have their own roots by now. So by taking the connection away between them, won't do any harm to either of them, and we can make a whole new tree. All right, so you can see here we've got one sucker there, this yellow root here, connecting to the other sucker that I was showing you just a moment ago. So, try to get it exposed like so, and then get the secateurs. So I'll go ahead and cut there and there, which should give me enough, I think, for 2 cuttings. Wow, that's tough. And there we have it. Right, so this is an aspen root cutting. I think I can cut it in half, like I said, and have 2 of them. So let's take this back up and pot it up. And oh, by the way, if you're new to my channel and you're enjoying this sort of thing, do please press subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Here's our root cutting we took earlier. So we're going to cut this in half, like I said, out there. Oops, good shot. So we just pop these in a plant pot, nothing special, just stick them like that. Sprinkle a bit of soil on top, maybe without all the roots. And it's as easy as that. Hopefully they'll grow as well as the ones I did last year. Let me show you. I mentioned earlier that some trees you can just cut the branches and put the branches in the ground and they'll root. You know, willow being the prime example of that. I'd read that you can't do that with aspen, and being me, I didn't believe it, so I had to trial it for myself. You see here, these are branches that I cut and stuck in the ground. They're kind of growing a little bit, I suppose, but they're really wimpy, and there were as many on this side as there were on this side. These are root cuttings. There's 3 or 4 different roots in here, and they are growing beautifully. They're beginning to come into leaf, they're happy and alive, and that's how it's done with aspen. So I'm going to separate these so we can go and plant them elsewhere. We need to be kind of careful though, because aspen really like water. Where we were earlier was next to our stream, and they like that amount of water. So the problem is though, if you have them anywhere near a house or drains, their roots will get in and block the drains. So we've got to put them far away from any kind of water infrastructure. So that's not a problem. So let's cut into this and see what kind of growth we have. We need to separate the individual plants from each other so we can go and plant them up in the right place. Some healthy feeling roots. So there's the original root from the root cutting for that one. So there's one plant grown from this piece of aspen root section, and it's put these 3 suckers up. So they are in fact one tree. There's another one with the original piece of root, and it's put up 2 new little plants. And I'm thinking these 2 might be the same tree. Nice big healthy worm. Ah, they're in fact not. This is interesting. This is the original piece of hello worm. How about you go somewhere safe? The original root here had obviously decided it didn't need this section, so we'll cut that off and then plant this up in the ground. That's 3 and 4. And there we have it, 4 new trees. On this side, hello you. You can't see through you. Good girl, come here. Good girl, that's a good girl. And on this side, there's just nothing. It looks like they thought about making some new roots here, but it just hasn't worked. I'm going to assume the same thing is the case over here. Yeah. And again here. It just doesn't work. So you can see here the difference. These are sticks that I simply pushed into the ground. They're pathetic, they're busy dying. They've attempted to make some little roots, but out of the half a dozen I put in the ground, there's only 2 that are barely clinging on. It's just hopeless. Whereas a bit of a root cutting, you have this healthy specimen. So we can go and plant this up and create a whole new aspen grove from root cuttings. Pretty amazing. Right, so here we are. We're going to plant these aspen babies just here. We're just up the field a little bit from where we cut these from. We're going to stick them in the ground here next to this stream we have. It'll provide them with lots of water to drink and also contain their suckers so they don't get out into the rest of the field. So it's an excellent place for a new aspen grove. I think they'll be very happy here. So just measure up on the ground where this is going to go and then cut round it so I get the size right. Right, I dug a suitable sized hole for this aspen baby. We'll pop it in the ground. My thinking is that this lateral sort of horizontal root needs to be at the same depth as it was when we dug it out, and that'll make it happy. There's also a little side root here, so I've dug an additional trench for it. So hopefully it can go off and find more food and nutrients and benefit the plant. So let's get this covered over with soil, and then we can mulch it. One really good thing to do when you remove turf and plant a tree or any other kind of plant is if you take the turf and turn it upside down and put the vegetation underneath the soil, it'll then die and rot down and provide good nutrition. It's a good way to not wind up with loads of leftover material as well. Let's mulch this. Hazel, you're going to get mulched. Big one. So the idea is to have the mulch about 50 centimeters wide and 5 or 6 centimeters deep, which that is. So that should now grow beautifully. We'll come back later in the year just to top up the mulch to make sure there's no weeds competing too much with our little aspen. Good luck. Be a big tree someday. All right, if you enjoyed that, do please press subscribe. That'd be fantastic. That's all of our little baby trees in the ground. So this will be a wonderful aspen grove in a couple of years' time. It's nice. Come on, Hazel. Come on.